Celtic are back in Scottish Cup action this weekend against Hibs as we take on the form side in the country in the quarter-final of this year's tournament. This is Tino with the Countdown to Kick-Off show, joined here by Paddy. Paddy, your thoughts? I get it. Should be a crack.
It should be, T. It should be. I think we're looking forward to it. I think just the little bit of needle for the last game, and obviously the incorrect decision to disallow the goal, the incorrect decision not to award a penalty for Hibs that day as well. It was a little bit of needle in the game, so I think there's a lot to be brought back to the table this coming week in the Scottish Cup. It's also winner takes all in terms of progressing in the tournament, and I like the fact that Hibs have went for their full allocation as well. They've got their fans back on side. It's been a long time you've seen such a strong following at Easter Road. I don't know where a lot of these Hibs fans have been hiding, but here they are, and they're rightly so. That they should be proud with the turn of fortune they've had since November after that Aberdeen draw. It's been a really strong middle third of the season that they've displayed. So it's going to be a tough game. I think that they have a bit of confidence about them. They'll have a good feel for Celtic, having played us only 2 weeks ago. So we need to be on our toes for this one, T.
Absolutely, Paddy. And I think, as you're right, their form is exceptional. I think it's something like 15 games unbeaten just now. Hibs' best run since 1940, whatever. They'll be feeling confident. Aside, they were rock bottom, I believe, in November. It's unbelievable as a turnaround. And it's good to see. I think the more sides getting their act together in the league, I was pleasantly surprised by Aberdeen's start to the campaign. That's fallen away now. But for Celtic to kick on, you need competition around us. Hibs, Hearts, United, Aberdeen, whatever. And I think it's great to see what Hibs are doing. And it makes for a tough test. Paddy, how big a difference, though, do you think being at Celtic Park? Tough game at Easter Road a couple of weeks back. We lose out 2-1. How big a difference could it be being at Celtic Park on Sunday?
Massive, because I think obviously this is the competition we've still got our eyes on. This is the competition we want to progress in, and we want to make sure that we go ahead and win. I think that when you look at the side of Celtic that's really competed well and almost ran away with the league this season, albeit it's not signed, sealed, delivered yet, but it's not far off. We have questioned some of the performances in the turn of the year, just as the interest kind of dropped off. Is it fatigue? I think now that the Champions League is wrapped up for this season, we want to go and deliver this treble, and I think that this is the time to make sure that we go and do that. So it's a big game for us, and it's a big game for our season. And if there's one manager in the league that knows what it is to go and win these kind of games, is Brendan Rodgers. So I'm pretty sure he'll have us ready for it, T.
Start on the press conference, Brendan Rodgers' press conference. I knew it was something along these lines. This will be his 20th Scottish Cup tie. He's won the previous 19. That's outrageous.
It's incredible for him. And I think that, you look at the fact that it's the Kilmarnock game is his only domestic cup game that he's dropped with Celtic as well. Like, I don't think there's anyone on paper that's done that in Scottish football. I might be wrong, but I can't think of any other managers that have done that. So no, for him, it's a record he won't want to drop too soon. He'll want to keep it going. He'll want to set himself ahead of the rest.
Yeah, no doubt. Just in terms of Celtic's general record, Scottish Cup-wise, we're the record of the 42 Scottish Cup titles for Celtic. We've won the last 2, so we're going for 3 in a row there. And it's such a trophy that Celtic are synonymous with for so many special memories. And if you want to think back to Rodgers' first success in this, it created the Tom Rogic moment and that Tom Rogic iconic celebration. And as you say, that there's no chance he wants to give up that anytime soon. One thing I'm really looking forward to in terms of the game is this element of away supporters. We know there's going to be somewhere close to 7,000 Hibs fan attendance. Fans not best pleased for reasons I can't fathom. I think this is football. This is part of competitive football. I think it's so healthy to see that, and I think it's going to create a brilliant atmosphere on the day.
Yeah, of course it is, Tino. And I think we can't begrudge the rules. If it was if it was Rangers we were playing, or if we were playing at Ibrox, we would be doing the exact same. So I don't see where we can think that we can dictate who brings their fans to the stadium. If the team can do it, and as I say, they're in a sing when we're winning moment at the moment. Hibs, I think the fans have really bought into what David Gray's doing. Then of course they're going to ask for the biggest allocation they can get. So as I say, it's part of the rules for the tournament. We can't really have any qualms against it. And if they sell their allocation, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to that element of the game. Just before we kick on, Paddy, a big hello joining us. A few comments starting to come in. San Fran 420 somewhere and some others. And San Fran makes a good early comment. He says, we've been soft a few times recently. Hibs are flying 5-0 Celtic. Aye. And I like that kind of attitude, and we'll get some scoreline predictions later in the piece. Just a reminder, we, as we do every month, had a prize draw. We'll be having a prize draw for subscribers or members to the Celtic Exchange Plus. Last month it was a Jota 7 Celtic shirt. We'll do the draw for that and we'll find out the big winner later on in the piece. As before, Paddy, there's some technology involved. What could possibly go wrong at this side? Brendan Rodgers speaking of different things, and one thing that he's pleased about is the fact that they've had a full week to prepare. To quote the man himself, he said there's been 150% focus on the game, so he can't ask for any more than that. But we come into this one with that full, fresh week, as opposed to the Easter Road game, where we're just on the back of a relentless schedule in general, that tough game in Munich. How big an impact could that have on how fresh Celtic are when we turn up?
I think, we've seen the difference of coming to the end of Europe last season, coming to the end of a busy schedule after the winter break. I think you could see how much the players benefited from that last season, in terms of Diaz Almeida getting back to full fitness, Adam Ida started to find his feet, and even the slight impact that Nicholas Kuhn had last season. All of that started to arrive even more, and then some, from the moment that we started to get that midweek break. He was getting time with the players in order for them to buy into how he wanted to play. It was still very early days, and a lot of those players buying into the Rodgers style of play, pulling away from the Ange Postecoglou style of play. So absolutely, it's a great testament to Rodgers last season and what he'd done in those times. And I think it's we speak about Celtic always kicking on after the winter break. I actually think we always have such a strong run-in, and I think bar the Ange season where the league was wrapped up and we were just waiting for that Scottish Cup final, I don't think Brendan Rodgers allows the complacency as much as what we've seen at the end of that season. So it's good for us. People will be looking to play for the chance of next season. Some players might be looking to play their way out of Celtic, but we'll take them for what we have at the moment and just see how it goes. Yeah,
we will do. Brendan Rodgers has said on a few occasions now, this season and last, that this is the time of the campaign where Celtic come alive, and hopefully that's what we see on Sunday. He spoke about that relentless schedule kind of culminating in the Munich game. I feel like he did concede that some tiredness had crept into Celtic. We have lost, probably uncharacteristically, at least domestically, some goals in recent times. Obviously, we did lose a late goal to Bayern, but that aside, you lose 2 at Easter Road just a couple of weeks back. You beat Aberdeen comfortably 5-1, but they're in the mix, a frustrating one in the mix. And then there's the game that wasn't really sealed in minutes, the Yang game, for want of a better expression, but 5-2 against St Mirren, 1 goal being a very good free kick, but defending up to the free kick as well as defending for the second goal could have been better. And it's something the manager's obviously highlighted. Do you have any concerns, or do you think it is just what he's tiredness of the
Yeah, I think so, and I think the full team has been heavily involved this season as well. Ultimately, we were lighter coming out of the window in terms of losing Kyogo too, so there's a little bit more pressure in the front line. We're still seeing Jota getting up to the right pace, the required level. So yeah, there's a bit of unsteadiness in the back. Because they're not really getting that much more protection from those in the front. Now, you've got Diaz Almeida that will run 90 minutes for you, but I don't think there's much of that press that what we would see from the likes of Kuhn, Maeda and Kyogo, all three of them pressing. I don't think we see the same pressing from Adam Ida, and I also think Nicholas Kuhn actually looks a bit fatigued at this part of the season as well, which fair, totally understand. It's been relentless this year. The form's been relentless from them as well. So I think it's just kind of allowing a little bit more pressure. But as I say, this is a big game. That's where the adrenaline kicks in and pulls you through those moments and makes sure you're on your toes for it. Yeah,
and as mentioned, the crowd, as always, have got a huge part to play, but I think the crowd will be bang up for this one, given what's at stake. Let's get to starting line, Paddy, just in terms of some injury updates. Liam Scales, I think he's got some sort of cheekbone injury that he picked up against St Mirren, and by all accounts, on with that, and credit to the player for doing so. Austin Trusty had a couple of stitches, but he's back available. Paulo Bernardo remains out, and that's the case till after the Rangers game. And no update today on James Forrest, so I wouldn't expect he'll be around, but you never know. So, what I'm doing in the lineup, where do you see the back four?
The back four, I think we will see just the standard of obviously Johnston. I would still go with Jeffrey Schlupp, and I think it will be Austin Trusty and Cameron and Cat Vickers-T. Well, obviously big Casper in goals, smelling nice apparently.
Did you catch any of his interview on the overlap?
I seen someone say that there was nothing about Celtic, so I've decided not to watch it.
Yeah, a protest. Casper, he visibly annoyed at conceding goals in recent weeks. You know, it's not something he's become used to. I did from that interview actually, where he was going for a clean sheet record at Leicester, and someone gave away, I think it was a cheap penalty or a cheap free kick. Pointed on, do you remember who it was? He went, it was Jeffrey Schlupp. So they've got their history going back the way. They do seem to be a key part of the defence. You think this is don't want to sound dramatic, but the beginning and the end of Greg Taylor? Do you think he'll be phased out for the big games between the end of this?
Potentially. I know that obviously he's been out of the team the past couple of weeks, given the birth of his child. So I think that there's that obviously human element there, which we can't ignore, and that needs to be given the time, of course. I still think we'll see him. I do still think Brendan Rodgers will bring him into the team. I think there's a real respect between both of them, and I don't think we can just solely say that Jeffrey Schlupp, who's not played the first half of the season, not really kicked a ball in a long time, is going to finish the season in such a strong, steady fashion. He seems to have taken the opportunity. He seems to be up to a good level at the moment, but there's still some big games to go. There's 2 games against your rivals to come up as well, albeit we've said the league looks wrapped up. They're important games, so the squad management still comes into play because you want to get the results against Rangers in those games. You also want to be relentless and try and break the records of league points, try and break the records of goals scored in a season as well. So there's that element too. And that's the kind of things that when your manager sits down at the end of the season and reflects on it, that's what he's looking at, is the overall return he gets from his players. So that involves with Brendan Rodgers using and utilising his full squad. So I still think Greg Taylor will play a part. Is he going to be the starting left back in those bigger games? Probably not. But I do think he'll still be involved because ultimately he'll want to keep himself fit and ready in order to be impressing potential suitors that are looking at him as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his look towards, whether it's at Celtic or not, and I would lean towards it not being at Celtic, but he needs to make sure he's on top of his game and that he continues to impress. To my mind, Paddy, I think Celtic potentially get 6 big games left this potential Scottish Cup games starting on Sunday, and the hope is we go through and we've got a semi-final and a final. That would be your 3 Scottish Cup games. 3 league games. The one against Rangers coming up on the 16th of March. The reverse fixture against Ibrox, even if the league is done and dusted by then, should be an important game, and Celtic have fallen short there a wee bit in recent times.
Yeah.
And the game that will win is the league, whatever that might be. It's potentially going to be St Johnstone early April, but whatever game wins you the league, that's a game that every player will be desperate to start. And I don't think Greg Taylor starts on them, but I do think he's got a part to play, and him and Jeffrey Schlupp will, each other in our games, but I think when push comes to shove, Schlupp has proven more than capable enough to get the nod. And who knows, he might be beyond this. A lot of fans would like to see it. Let's go into the midfield, Paddy. Does it pick itself? Callum McGregor, Arne Engels, Rio Hatate?
Yeah, I don't think there's much to debate there. As we've been speaking about, I do think that we've been speaking about potentially Engels building up to a big game against Rangers. Actually, this is the biggest game he's going to face this month, and I think that he's got enough in his locker to really dictate the midfield. That's where I thought Hibs were pretty good at Easter Road. I thought they were very efficient in the first half at silencing our midfield three. And actually, it was the second half you seen it unlock a little bit for us. And Engels was a big part of that. So, in his own ground, I can see him really bringing that threat and really putting them to the test. I would like to see a bit more composure in some moments if we were to take the lead. I think we speak back to that. We go back to that game at Easter Road. I mentioned in the weekly show, I thought some of his last-minute crosses in a game were quite desperate. And I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to get it in as quick as possible, try and beat the line, try and also put them under pressure when they're not expecting it. But it just wasn't coming off for him. I think when we're in the ascendancy and we're winning, he's a lot more composed. And I think that, I would just want to see him take control of yet another game. But this is a big one for him on Sunday.
I think we're on the cusp of Arne Engels masterclasses starting on Sunday. I think this game is absolutely tailor-made for him. And then to next Sunday against Rangers, the 16th, I just think he's developed perfectly. As I said, he's not going to hit in terms of just knock it out the ballpark from day one, but he's been decent from day one, and he's got better and better and better. And he's taken on such responsibility at such a young age. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, Celtic. And that's something we've been completely comfortable with in recent years. We've had a host of players missing between Rio Hatate, Kyogo, Callum McGregor, Ferreira missed one, Louis Palmer. There's a whole bundle of missed penalties for Celtic. And I know he's missed one, but he's also tucked away about 8 or 9 into the bargain. He's so calm and he's so assured. But with the penalty stuff, he's just such a talented player and a clever player and a player with really phenomenal technique. And I just think it's for him to have a big one on Sunday and pick that up again the next week. So here's hoping in that basis. Up front, Paddy, you know where I'm going already, but is it time? Is it time? You mentioned Nicholas Kuhn being a bit tired. Yang, absolutely the man. Come on and change the game at St Mirren. And there will be from some start. Now, I'm a massive fan, but I don't know if it is the time for him to start because it's one thing coming off the bench, whatever it was, 26 minutes, a 26-minute cameo against St Mirren, 2 goals, 1 assist, and rightfully the man of the match. But that's very different from starting a game, which will be high tempo, from the first whistle. So what's your thinking? How does Brendan Rodgers play it with his front three?
I think we'll see Jota, Maeda and Nicholas Kuhn as our front three. And I do think, I'm agreeing with Sam Fran here. I think we'll see Yang come in. And listen, it will have done him the world of good. That performance against St Mirren, he pulled us through it. And to have that almost saviour role in that game and be the guy that's come off the bench and picked it up, he'll be happy with himself. He'll be happy with the integration with the team. You could see how delighted his teammates were with him as well. So I'd like it to be more the expectation of him coming off the bench. Maybe if we require him during this game and for the fans to get behind him instead of it being a tough first hour and him coming off with little impact. Because I do think, like what you're saying in terms of you see the player there, he's been so up and down, Tino, and there's no denying that. But there are the makings of something there, and I think that what Rodgers is doing and doing well is just slowly building him up to it, slowly building him up to that. Not just squad player, that's someone that's actually going to be part of your strongest 15, 16, So he's involved in that every week through, I would say, necessity that we don't have enough winners. James Forrest is injured. but he's grown stronger. There is no denying that at all. I wouldn't disagree with that, but he's still not at the level where I would say a big game like this, for a quarter final, you go and put him in.
Yeah, I think to your point there, he's been coached very well by the manager. Brendan Rodgers been careful about when he's put him in and brought him back out again, over recent times, because his form has been sporadic, up and down, and he's stuck with him. At times it'd have been easier for Brendan Rodgers to say, do you know what, I'll just leave you be. And there's games that he didn't trust him in. There's games where he has remained on the bench, but he's played it well. And what he's got all of a sudden is a player full of confidence. And whether Yang starts or not tomorrow, and I think he probably won't, he'll only get a whenever he comes on, and whatever the scoreline is, if Celtic are winning, losing or drawing, Yang would likely be introduced around about 62 minutes, give or take, is when Brendan Rodgers tends to do it. And I think he will feel confident enough. In fact, someone in one of our recent shows saying that they now expect Yang to do something, whereas not so long ago that wasn't the case. So you think, just to pick up, Kuhn, Maeda and Jota?
Yeah, I think that'll be the three.
So Adam Idah coming in off the bench?
Yeah.
Where are you at with Adam Idah, or where is Adam Idah at the moment?
I think he needs to work harder. Personally, I do. I really like Adam Idah. I think he's got it in his locker. I think I mentioned not that long ago, I think it was before the Aston Villa game, I think he needs to believe in himself a wee bit more and be ruthless. I remember hearing an interview with John Hartson, and Hartson was very honest about his physicality and honest about his 90-minute game. And he said that, listen, I knew that I wasn't always going to be able to last the full 90 minutes. I knew that I wasn't going to run the channels, but I made sure that if the ball was making its way towards me, I was doing something with it. And I made sure that I was impactful for my team because I believed in my ability. And I think that when you see the ball going into the channels towards Adam Idah, I don't think he believes in that. I don't think he believes that he can be the player that makes the next move for Celtic or brings us up the park. And that's why sometimes you see the touch isn't there. I expect a lot more from him because when he does do that, when that isn't in full effect, and when he puts it out to whether it's his two on-running midfielders or he gets it out to the wings, he's right in the box like a dash, and he's a real threat when it comes to those quick plays that Celtic do, but I just don't see enough from him. And yeah, I think considering what we paid for him, considering this was a move that he wanted himself, Celtic wanted to move after the return of last season, 9 million, I'm not saying that he's not a £9 million player, I'm saying that he needs to prove even more why we paid that money for him.
Yeah, to prove why the manager kind of came back for him. Brendan Rodgers clearly, wanted to have him here as a permanent player, and yeah, I don't think it's a lack of effort as such, but I think there's a lack of confidence in places. The shoulders go down a wee bit. He looks gutted every time he gets subbed off if it's been a game where he's not managed to grab his goal, and I just think work to be done there. We speak about the good stuff the manager's done with Yang, and everyone's talking about the improvements in Dyson Maeda in terms of his composure and his finishing, although you think it's always been there with Dyson. And Adam Idah maybe wants to just lean into what the manager's doing and make those improvements that are required to really make it a Celtic. He scored big goals, but to really go down in Celtic history and be revered, it needs to be consistent. It can't just be for a half season too. You need that kind of longer term catalogue to look back on. Paddy, there's a few players that we've not quite mentioned that might be guys like Luke McCowan. I believe Luke McCowan was speaking to the press as well. He'll be keen to put another marker down. There's young players, Jude Bonner, who's featured recently. You've also got Johnny Kenny, who might have a snap. What do you think of? He's got a part to play.
I'd say probably for me, McCowan would be the most likely in that one. I think that you've got to look at this. This is not cup game. Give some of the boys a run around anymore. This is cup game. We need to win. So I do think it'll be the strongest, most proven side that will play with hopefully a strong bench as well. So taking nothing away from the likes of young Bonner that could potentially do something for us. I think he'll just want it to be settled, composed, and go and do the job professionally and try and get try and get the result. I think that Rodgers won't want to take a risk, because if you look at it, we go and lose this tomorrow with the league wrapped up. It's a slow run to the end of the season, if you know what I mean. We want that still to be there. We want that excitement still to be there as fans. So it's a big, important game. Having said that, I'm well aware it's not easy to go and win a treble, and I think that as fans we are expecting us to go and beat Hibs. But that's another reason why we play the strongest team on Sunday, is that they're going to be up for us. They're in a very, very good vein of form at the moment, so we need to be ready for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there are, still a couple of players out. We've mentioned James Forrest, Paulo Bernardo, Liam Scales will miss out on this one, but the squad is quite light all of a sudden. You lose Kyogo, you can't discount that, and it does feel quite light. I think they've got enough in the tank for the line this season. But there's reinforcements required, and those reinforcements, Paddy, won't all be starting 11 players. You can always sign 11 players. Celtic will potentially need to sign a couple of guys who will come in off the bench and have an impact, or compete with the guys that are starting. But there's definitely work to be done. Paddy, before we kick on with the closing piece and have a quick glance at Hibs and what they might bring at the point, and we'll get some line predictions. As mentioned, we'll do the prize draw for the Celtic Exchange members for February. As mentioned, the occasion is 7 Celtic home shirts. So as I say, there's a bit of tech involved, so bear with me. We'll see if we can call out this month's big winner. I'll the screen in a second, Paddy.
No worries.
So you should see a countdown on screen just about now. Got it?
Just come right up. Who won?
Right up there. Paul Bryson. So well done to Paul. We'll be in touch. And thanks to Paul and everyone else that continues to support us by subscribing to the Celtic Exchange Plus. To do so with the Celtic Exchange Plus, you get ad-free listening for every episode, as well as advanced access to the weekly show on a Monday and a few different benefits. So, as I say, I like that, but well done to Paul in the meantime. Paddy, on Hibs, so obviously they've seen us up close and personal just 2 weeks ago. They got off to a flyer. They've got that goal very early in the first half. They've then got one at a key time just before half time, and yeah, we talk about the disallowed goal and what have you, but you can't begrudge them their win. So with that, there comes a confidence, but as we've discussed, this is a different ballgame. This is a winner takes all, and it's on our whole. So how do you think Hibs will approach that? What's David Gray's approach to Sunday afternoon?
I think it's probably going to be more set up on the basis of see how long you can manage Celtic and whether or not you could take them the full 90 minutes, extra time and potentially penalties. But what I've seen lately from teams that have maybe came to Celtic Park is in the cup games, it's more around that 20-minute mark. They put a bit of pressure on. They've managed to get to that point. They keep the subs till a little bit later in order to be ready in case the game goes into extra time. But they've thought about the last 10 minutes when maybe Celtic are pressing and still haven't got the breakthrough goal to really go for it and put us under pressure, give us something to think about at the back and in behind. That's the beauty of the cup, I suppose. We're clever with it in terms of the league. Teams that want to respectfully keep the score down, but ultimately Hibs are there to go and try and win. It's up to them how they approach that. And I think a lot of teams tend to, especially against the likes of Celtic, they tend to just hold off as much as they can. So it's really important we go and try and get the early goal. I think that's got to be the focus. We've done it many a time this season, but that could kill their game plan if we do. Interestingly, I was reading an article from of an interview with David Gray, and he noted that the last time back in 1902, 1903 that Hibs won the Scottish Cup, they beat Celtic. It was the last time they beat Celtic in the Scottish Cup on the run, and it was at Celtic Park. So he's brought that up. So I just think we need to prevent that from happening again, T.
So he's digging 122 years or so back into the archives to find the last time. Well, who knows? Maybe once in a while that kind of thing could happen. I'd also be amazed, and I don't think it will come and try and eke out extra ties. That's a very high risk strategy, because inviting Celtic onto them could lead to anything. And I think much as they'll be buoyant after the win at Easter Road, they know how dangerous Celtic can be. I hark back, Paddy, to each draw with Aberdeen at Celtic Park, which really seemed to rankle with Brendan Rodgers. It seemed to stick in his throat. Mm-hmm. Celtic were, Aberdeen were as good as they can be in the day, and with a couple of sloppy moments, and it's 2-2. And at that point, it was put to Brendan how well Jimmy Killeen and his players had done on the day, and it just didn't sit well with them. Next opportunity we get, it's Aberdeen League Cup semi-final at Hampden. We hammer them 6-0, and Celtic were relentless that night. Rodgers himself slipping on the park and all involved. He just had the bit between his teeth, and I think there's similar going on here. It'll have annoyed him coming away a couple of weeks ago, facing a rare domestic defeat. It's not something Celtic are familiar with, and I think with more or less of the 2 weeks to up with the St Mirren game, which was pretty enjoyable there last weekend, and I just think he'll be going all out to prove who's the top team in the country, and also just a wee reminder who the top manager is in the country, and what we'll see from him. You mentioned penalties. I've not got penalties in me. I don't know if the players have, but that League Cup final was tense, and obviously we had Aberdeen on penalties in the Scottish Cup semi last year. Joe Hart hitting, missing his hit and all that kind of stuff. I don't think we've got much more of them left. No. Hopefully Celtic could get the job done in the 90, Paddy.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the aim. I think you look at it, and as I say, like Hibs, rightly so, they should be feeling confident going into this. I think that they've played well lately, but we should be too much for them at Celtic Park, Tino. We'll respect them, but I don't think we need to show them that respect too much. I think we need to just believe in what we've done, believe in the games that were played at Celtic Park, the way that we've picked teams off, whether it's even Hampden as well, when you speak about the Aberdeen game. And just know that we have too much for every side in this league. Have that belief, have that confidence in yourself that this is the game you go and show that. Like you say, though, they may try and come out a little bit. They may try and put us under a bit of pressure through the game instead of sitting in. But I just think it's important we go and get the first goal and try and get it in the first 10, 15 minutes for me.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of scorelines coming in, Paddy. Let me run through just a few of them at the moment. Shane O'Sullivan, good to see Shane all the way from Boston with a 4-1 win. And you, Paddy, saying that will be too much for them. Jim Hunter, great to see Jim here. Jim's gone for 3-1 Celtic. Gypsy King, again, good friend. He's saying a hard-fought 4-2 win, maybe even in extra time. Paddy, some positive scorelines all round there. What are you going for yourself?
I'm going to go 3-0 Celtic. I think we'll keep a clean sheet.
Clean sheets are back, is that what you're telling me?
Clean sheets are back in fashion, mate. I think that it will have hurt them at Easter Road a couple of weeks ago, and like you say, I don't think the manager allows that to happen too often, especially in such close proximity of each other. So I'm going to go 3-0.
Fair enough. I'm not too far behind you. I'm going to go for 3-1. I think it could be a very competitive game. It's certainly set up to be a very competitive game, and who knows how that could play out. But I do think, to your point, to Shane O'Sullivan, Celtic will and should be too strong for them. And on that note, I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. So here's hoping. But it's a great game. I look for full house at Celtic Park, including those 7,000 away fans. The two best teams in the country at this moment in time. The hope, of course, is that we go through and we take a place in the semi-final draw. That will take place on Monday after, let me see, I think it's St Johnstone play Livy on Monday night. There's two other fixtures across the weekend. Hearts play Dundee tonight, Friday. Aberdeen play Queen's Park on Saturday. So, amongst those kind of six other teams, it's one game at a time. Let's deal with Hibs. But it's there. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a real clear path to a treble for Celtic at this moment in time. And I'm sure the manager and the players won't allow themselves to go down that road just yet. But as I always say, we as fans kind of, map it out and see where it might take us. But the big focus, as we can all agree, is on Sunday coming. Paddy, your final thoughts for this one?
Yeah, I think what you said there, we as fans, we look at the next steps and we look at the final, and I think that's what we've just came to expect for this Celtic side. I think it's important that it's okay for our managers to come out and say how difficult it is to go and complete this, and I mean, rightly so for them to say that when you look at how many trebles we had won pre Brendan Rodgers. It's a factor of us as a club at the moment, and it's that continued success which is seen as go crazy in the trophy hall just now. And I think that it's quite a nice pressure that the board have on them in terms of the fans. They are demanding that. They are demanding not that we win it every year. We can't possibly demand that, but we should be at least semi-final, final in both these cup tournaments every season. And I think that relentlessness, that pressure, is something our manager thrives on, and it's something our captain and it's something that this team thrive on as well. I spoke about some of the players part of the Ange team in that first season. They hadn't really won anything before. Yep. So there was a few that were maybe just trying to spread that into them, get that mentality to do so. And then for those that stuck about for the second season, they go and mop up the treble. They've had a taste for it. Whereas you look at everyone that's a part of this team, there's hardly any that's not had a taste of this. So they'll be relishing it. They're playing alongside true winners that have done it before, and the likes of Sloop, the likes of Luke McCowan, and Arne Engels, they'll be itching to get themselves into that history book as well. So we're in a very good place. It should be the demand that we go and compete for every trophy every year. But we know how difficult it is. So it'll be a good game on Sunday. Just really looking forward to seeing how we approach it.
Yeah, spot on, Paddy, absolutely. And this Celtic team, this season and seasons past, they absolutely know how to win. And I mentioned, and I'll reiterate that Brendan Rodgers record. This was the 8th Scottish Cup. He's won 19 so far. So here's hoping it's 20 on Sunday. Paddy, thanks for joining us here on a Friday afternoon. Thanks to everyone who joins on the live show and continues to support what we do at the Celtic Exchange. Big congratulations again to Paul Bryson, a 7-shot as a member of the Celtic Exchange Plus. Remember, there's a link to join that in the show notes to enjoy ad-free listening, early access, and various other. But in the meantime, here's hoping for a cracker on Sunday at Celtic Park, and that we take our place in the hat on Monday Night's Draw. Have a good one, folks. We'll see you soon.